Day presented by Jeep. Trey Lance. I've been waiting for one of these big fish rigs to come on. I want Trey Lance. We get him today.
At the breakfast table, we will ask him about the 49ers' interest in him. We will ask him about the other teams in the top 10, and we'll get to know Trey Lance once and for all after talking about him for, what, 3 months?
I'm very excited. We've got Nate Burleson, Kyle Brandt. My name is Kay Adams. Let's do it. It is time for the lead block.
Hey, everybody, block.
We're going to start things off right. Why wouldn't we go to Ohio live to Aditi Kinkhabwala? She is there, feet on the ground, 2 days till the draft. Where are you? What's going on behind you? Tell us everything.
Well, it is. I am indeed at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Kay, and that's because this is the biggest show on turf. Not the draft necessarily, but the halftime show. The halftime show of the Super Bowl has become the single most watched event on the planet. More people watch the Super Bowl halftime show than they do the actual game. And look, this is what we talked about all day yesterday, right? The NFL draft has become a week-long event. It's not just about player selection. And so the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is here in Cleveland just last week, unveiled an exhibit featuring artifacts from all 55 Super Bowl halftime shows. To my right is Lady Gaga's outfit. I did try to see if I could wear it today, but of course I was not given permission to take it out of the cage. And right behind me are the Weeknd's outfits. Let me tell you, this is literally a ton of square footage of unbelievable moments in American history.
Well, listen, say what you want about Santonio Holmes or David Tyree. I still think Lady Gaga had one of the clutchest catches in Super Bowl history. I love that the outfit is there. Aditi, there's a lot of clothing, but knowing you have taken a little tour, and there's a lot of other things you would like to share. Can you give us a little walk around, maybe?
Kyle knows exactly what I studied in school, right? Which is history, American studies. And I will take you to a moment that, for me, as a native New Yorker, really resonates very strongly. And that, of course, is U2. U2 was the act, the first Super Bowl halftime act in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. Bono and U2, of course, this is Bono's jacket. They performed, and the names of all of the 9/11 victims were run behind the stage, if you all remember that. Here is a photograph from there. Here is a football that is signed by The Edge. And this was one of those moments that was not just a rock concert, but it was also one of those moments that brought the country together. And as I said, made a statement on the moment of where we were, and speaks to why football is about really more than football, why the Super Bowl is about more than just a game, and why the NFL draft has now become more than just a player selection, a few days of player selection.
It is so well said by you, Aditi Kinkhabwala. It also looks like in back of you, we're seeing some of those Weeknd lights from the Super Bowl tunnel when he did the fisheye lens vibe. Yes, it looks really cool. I can see that behind you. I wish I was there, but we are happy that you are our eyes and ears there at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And, of course, in Cleveland as we're about to kick off this 3-day party. And, Aditi, we're going to start with this team. We're going to start with the Niners here back in studio in New York. We've been talking about that 3rd overall pick since they made that massive trade, which seems like a million years ago now. Well, Kyle Shanahan gave us, I don't know, some insight, some sound bites about that move up yesterday. Take a look.
You know, when we made this decision, we knew that there were 5 guys that we felt that we'd be okay with taking. You know, we knew that there was 3 at the time exactly. That's why we thought 3 was a good spot to go to. After going through this whole process, I feel good about 5 guys at 3. I think every candidate's gotten stronger. And yeah, we probably started with one in mind, but that one's gotten better since, and so have all the other candidates. So do we know exactly who we want? Maybe, probably, but maybe not. I don't feel like we need to say that. And that's not just for our case, but like, you know, lots of stuff happens between now and the draft. We made a decision in this process that we felt we needed to get a starting quarterback this year and add that to our team. And when we sit there at 12 way back in the day, and we wanted to dictate it.
Can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday. So that goes for all of us.
Kyle.
I've heard the bite like 19 times, and I'm still like, what? Every time. So much intrigue out in San Francisco.
Very
Shrigs.
morbid.
I go right to you on this. Complete
Went
the
dark
sentence.
very fast.
Very dark.
The most interesting team in the 2021 NFL Draft will be who, Shrigs?
Well, those of us who are still living on Sunday will be the most interesting team. But
He's alive!
Right.
It's those guys, the Niners. That was some press conference yesterday, and it was John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. And to be 2 days from the draft and there still be some indecision amongst the masses as to who they're taking when we know the first and second picks is a fascinating prospect. I don't remember a number 3 pick in the draft being the most fascinating pick in the draft ever.
Right.
Usually it's number 1, and a lot of times you get number 2 where it's like, all right, number 1's that, but what's number 2 going to do? 3 is fascinating because Mac Jones was the guy everyone was talking about the first few weeks, and in the last week or two, Trey Lance's name has come on like a locomotive, and I am fascinated to see what actually happens on Thursday night. They could not have drawn up 2 more different prospects as far as where they come from, what production they had, and then, of course, what programs they came from. Mac Jones threw for 4,500 yards last year, led the nation in passing, had a 77% passing percentage, completion percentage, and won the national title. Trey Lance played 1 game and barely beat Central Arkansas, going 15 of 30. It's a wild, wild dynamic between the 2 different quarterbacks and what they end up deciding. And the fact that we don't know is so interesting. And the last part of it is, once they make this pick, they don't have a first-round pick next year. They don't have a first-round pick the year after. Like, they will be sitting with this pick and have to not only sit with it, but swim with it and sink with it and fly with it and then completely go down with it. Like, whatever it is, this is the guy, and they are going to be on the clock, and I do not know who they are taking right now, and I cannot wait to see. Thursday could not get here soon enough.
And then, Nate, there's the Jimmy Garoppolo aspect of all of this. You made a great case for keeping him on the roster, how it's not really going to upset the cap, or like they could do it and keep him there to compete with a rookie or to have one learn from him. What do you think about what you heard your guy Shanahan say?
I just like the fact that he said he can't guarantee that anybody will be alive. You know, he didn't really address Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't feel like he needs to, and that's why he's irritated by the question about Jimmy. But I'll move along to the Miami Dolphins. Listen, the Miami Dolphins, they are on the clock, and this is about to get good. They have 2 picks in the top 20, the only team with their first-round picks in the top 20, number 6 and 18. And what's exciting about this is the Miami Dolphins made a leap from the 2 previous seasons to this season where they won 5 more games. Just think about that for a second. Brian Flores is still in the infancy stages of being the head coach at the Miami Dolphins. They were 10-6 last year, despite all the issues that they dealt with, despite the quarterback carousel between Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick. They still made a great improvement. And now they're sitting there with 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. And now you're saying, they're just picks. They're just picks. Okay, well, a few years ago, the Browns had just picks, and they ended up landing Myles Garrett, who was the absolute superstar, Jabril Peppers, who was their first-round pick, who they traded away to bring in Odell Beckham, Njoku, and then the following year, what did they do? Denzel Ward, Baker Mayfield. The reason I'm bringing up the Browns because the Browns were irrelevant a handful of years ago, and last year they were one of the most exciting teams. Definitely. So now imagine this for a second. A team like the Miami Dolphins, who are 10-6, already now have these picks, 5 in the first 3 rounds. If they land these picks right, not only will they improve slightly, they might be more dominant than we've ever seen them before. And a fun fact about the Dolphins, they are carnivores. So it is time for the Dolphins to eat. No more games. I'm with Brian Flores,
That's
man.
true.
I love what he's doing.
The Dolphins eat fish.
Oh, yeah,
Who
they're
knew?
carnivores, baby.
All right, I'm excited for the Dolphins. I'm worried for Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, this is a thing now. Like, that was a very, very strange quote. What do they call it? Dead cap space? On this little optic? I don't know. Are they going to wear a patch? I'm going to try to break the rules here. The federal law, the state law, and the Good Morning Football law. Is it okay if I talk about Jacksonville?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, there are certain people.
Really?
At this table who think that Media Market 32, don't talk about them ever on the show, let alone in the opening block. I think the Jaguars are the most interesting team.
Do you?
Do you know this? The Jaguars have the number 1 pick in the draft. The Jaguars have 2 picks in the first round.
Yeah.
The Jaguars have 4 picks in the top 45. For whatever reason, Media Market 32, it's taboo to talk about the best player and the number 1 pick. And maybe I have a theory on that too. There's been a lot of times the Jaguars have been towards the top. Now, they've never had the number 1 pick ever. You might think they have because they never have. But there's been a lot of misses. Bring them up. Top 5 picks in the entire history of the Jaguars. Let's just go with me. Fournette gone. Ramsey gone. Fowler way gone. Bortles, nope. Luke Jokel, nope. Justin Blackmon, Demons, nope. Kevin Hardy, good player. Tony Vaselli, probably get in the Hall of Fame someday. So they're like 1.5 out of 8 with these top 5 picks. But for whatever reason, we talk about Nick Sirianni more than Urban Meyer on this show. We talk about Kyle Trask more than Trevor Lawrence. It's time to it's draft week. It's time. Enough about who the Niners are taking. We get it. It's interesting. The Jaguars are taking the best player, and they're taking, I'll tell you this. Urban Meyer did not make the jump to the pros to mess around. I think his draft picks are going to be bold. I think he is going to draft for speed every single time. I think he wants to have the fastest team in the AFC. This is going to get really interesting really fast. It's not just Lawrence, it's Meyer, the number 1 pick. It's time to talk about Jacksonville when it's not all about who their mayor is tweeting the show and Limp Bizkit. It's Trevor Lawrence. It's the number 1 pick. They're the most interesting. Sorry, not sorry.
I think it's the Niners, the Shregs. You want to hear from Twitter?
Okay.
GMMB. I do.
Some presentation.
What the whole thing I laid it all out. Talk the Niners
It was
enough
amazing.
times.
And we filled our quota, and it was a great, nice lift. And I can't wait to see what happens in 2 days on NFL Network. Let's bring in Tom Pelissero. I know he's excited about Jacksonville, about Miami, about San Francisco. But you have an article that I'm excited about that just came out at NFL.com. Tom, welcome to the show. What potential surprises could we be expecting in that first round on Thursday night?
Okay, this is going to be a wild round 1 of the NFL draft on Thursday night for a variety of reasons, and here's one. Teams have fewer bona fide first-round names on their draft boards than in a normal year. Some teams I've spoken to only have first-round grades on 14 to 16 guys, which means if you're drafting in the back half of round 1, you're really drafting from a pool of second-round players, and that could mean you get more surprising names that end up being called on Thursday night. Let's start with North Carolina running back Javonte Williams, somebody who has quite the highlight reel from his days with the Tar Heels. A lot of people expect Najee Harris from Alabama going to be the first running back off the board, and that absolutely could happen. But I'm telling you, there is a lot of love for Williams. I had one GM tell me last night, I think he's the best back in the draft. Another name to watch, Wake Forest edge Boogie Basham, friend of Good Morning Football, of course. He's versatile. He is productive, had a good pro day. It's supply and demand. Everybody needs edge help. There's not a lot of those guys out there. The questions on Basham just seem to be, does he play with enough urgency, enough passion, enough physicality? One executive told me he could be really good if he wants to be. And let's also mention a couple of Georgia cornerbacks, Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes. Both blazed the 40 at Pro Day. Campbell in 4.36 seconds, Stokes in 4.29. Both guys, the question seems to be ball skills, but they played well in 2020. If there is a run on corners, one, if not both